Despite coming from a marginalized community and dealing with so many stereotypes, she beat so many odds and became the first youngest minister in Kenya. She's very passionate about empowering the African woman, very passionate about mental health, and so much more that she has captured in her book of dreams and whatever. Ladies and gentlemen, you will love this. Let's get to it. You know what's interesting is I feel like we've already started the discussion, but it's just that the cameras were not rolling.
Not on.
Thank you so much, Nadia, for gracing my podcast. I feel so honored. I was telling Nadia how nervous I was, and she's like, "Why are you nervous?" I'm like, "Because it is you, Nadia. Why wouldn't I be nervous?" It is such an honor to have you on my podcast.
Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity.
Yeah.
Yes, and you have such great energy. Let me just say that.
Y'all heard that? I didn't say it. Nikisema utasema wewe unajipigia debe lakini ni mgeni amesema.
Ukona energy.
Asante. Nadia, for the person who's seen you for the first time, who is Nadia?
So Nadia is many things. She wears many hats, and she embraces many spaces. But I think in this context, Nadia is, I would say, former government official, the youngest in the country, was the youngest. She's also a development specialist. Then she's also an advocate for mental health. And she's also an advocate for youth and women. And she identifies as a Pan-Africanist.
Come on, girl.
Yes.
And I know you also don't like when people see you as a politician, but rather you want to be seen as a technocrat.
Yes, I'm not a politician, but I specialize in policy. So I'm the girl you put in your government to help you achieve the development in any nation. Ooh. I'm not the girl who asks for the votes.
Okay,
yes.
Y'all done heard it. Thank you for that. But now let me take you back to when you were 13.
Yes.
You really wanted to be, like the likes of the late Kofi Annan.
Yes.
And also Oprah Winfrey. And, I did a little bit of digging and I learned that this is one thing that you don't miss when you come for interviews. So I was like, let me beat her to it.
Yes.
So why the late Kofi Annan or Oprah? What is it about them that inspired you?
So I think growing up, I was labeled, and I was telling you this before, I was labeled as a noisemaker. I was the black sheep in the family, and nobody would understand, like, why is this young girl just trying to be everything but what society wants her to be. But then I was privileged enough to have like family that would buy me books to read. There were magazines in the house, and so that was my first contact with like people like Oprah Winfrey, people like Tyra Banks. But at the same time, on the other hand, my parents also wanted me to know about like the humanitarian aspect of it and what is happening in the real world. And so I think based on that exposure, it just trickled down to, I identified with Oprah Winfrey because I used to see her sitting with people, talking to people and bringing out stories. So I loved storytelling. And it also came from a place of, Bibi would sit down outside the veranda in Mombasa and tell us stories. My mom, before I slept, would tell me stories. And so I was like, you know what I'm seeing and what Oprah is doing, I want to be like that. But then when it came to Kofi Annan, I was like, you know what, if this does not happen, and Plan B would be, to be like Kofi Annan, because I would want to see how we can create or bring about peace into Africa. So I was really passionate about the African spirit as well from a young age. But all this came from an exposure point of view because of the things I was reading and because of the things I was seeing. Yeah.
And now that you've talked about Oprah, and she's very big on storytelling.
Yes.
Would you say that the art of storytelling has contributed to your style of leadership?
Yeah, most definitely. Because if you notice or if you follow or people follow my work, they will see that after every, I would say, stanza, I would always talk about who I am, where I'm from, and the challenges that I faced, and why I believe that I'm greater than everyone else. Now, what this does, it brings a humanistic point of view, but it also brings relatability. And so for you to be a good storyteller, you have to be the story. And that's what I do. I am the story, and I want that story to reflect to you and to be able to bring out that sense of like belonging and just idealism.
Yeah. As Christians, and I don't know if this is similar for Muslims as well, there's a part of the Bible where it says someone's gift makes room for them and brings them before great men. And for you, you had a whole president call out your name. What was that moment like?
Man, I wish I could go back there. It was great, but it was such a joke, honestly. And I'll explain why. It was such a joke because, I remember even calling my mom and I'm like, this happened. And you know what she said? She's like, Nadia, we know you. You always think big. You're always dreaming. So you're trying to like make fun of me or make jest of me. And I said, no. So you can imagine, I was in disbelief. Then you call this one person who's close to you.
She's like,
she was like, no, it can't be. But then I remember there was this moment where I was like, what? This just happened. And it happened in the midst of a lot of mess because that was the time my late mom was diagnosed with cervical cancer. I was trying to find my way back into Mombasa. And so it was a moment of, wow, God, you have really taken a 360 on my life because I was not looking towards that trajectory. I didn't even care about the government or the president. So having someone like that call me, I was like, damn.
Yeah.
I just had that moment. But at the same time, it was so funny because nobody believed me. Until one friend called me and said, what is your name? Because people didn't also know my full name. People used to call me Nadiwadi or they used to call me Nads. And when my friend called me and said, what's your name? I'm like, what? It's like, yeah, just give me your full name. I said, Nadia Ahmed Abdal. Oh, he just called you. I said, okay, shit, okay.
So finally somebody who believes.
Yeah. So it was a moment of mixed emotions, but it was a still moment because you just have a few minutes to internalize and then your life completely changes. Because after that, now media just came in. So I didn't even have that moment of, no.
Let me prepare.
Media was there. I don't know how they got my number. Like media was media. Just, media just was there completely. But it was a good moment.
It was,
It was.
Yeah. But do you feel like that moment really set you up for the greatness that came your way?
Yeah. I feel like if it wasn't for that, I don't know whether I would be the same person because I'm such a go-getter and I push a lot. But it was that moment that exposed me to the world. Because at that time I just had the Nadia and, Mombasa and that's it. But that actually got me featured everywhere. And everyone was like, oh, because she's young, she's under 30 and everything. It really set me up for things that I personally did not even aspire. Yeah.
And when I think about this, now especially for you, because now you also represent the marginalized communities.
Yes.
This move for you, and also now you getting into leadership and just being the Nadia that we know.
Yeah.
What did that mean for not just you, but also for the other women that you represent from the marginalized communities?
Yeah. It meant a lot. But the one thing it did do is it showed that anything is possible. It also proved that you don't need to have a history of politics or a history of having a godfather, as people say, or a history of just being known, and I'm a believer, right? And I believe there's a point in which God now wants the whole world or the universe to see you, and he uproots you from the soil up. And for the girls, when they saw that, for people in the marginalized community, they saw that, wow, if she can do it, so can I. It meant a lot to also, like, for me when it comes to the community, because I grew up where everyone was like, Nadia is a troublemaker. Nadia doesn't listen. Nadia this, Nadia will not. I remember even there was a time that Nadia will not be anything. And so when that happened, everyone kept quiet because now it's like the same Nadia who a lot of people are like, oh, she's so naughty and, she's always with boys and she's always this. And now she's like, yeah, ladies and gentlemen, my fellow Kenyans,
it's the same Nadia.
It's the same Nadia. So it had multifaceted things that it proved. One, the possibility. Two, the fact that pay attention to the child that is naughty. The girl that is outspoken, don't dim her light, don't force her to keep quiet. Because one of the things my family and my late mom did was they never forced me to keep quiet. They never forced me to be somebody else. They embraced my weirdness and my awkwardness. Of course, with a lot of beatings in between. Being a millennial, you'll be beaten from here to
but we'll live to see another day.
Right? But it also meant that you have to let that child just be
themselves.
Yeah.
Wow, I love that.
Yeah.
Because this is a very good story, because I know in most communities there's this, especially marginalized communities, there's this narrative of, again, take it down a notch. But I think for you, they even branded you as a black sheep. But look at you now. And I know you're also very passionate about empowering the young African women.
Yes.
What do you think are some of the challenges we are yet to address, especially pertaining women in general or women in marginalized communities?
Financial accessibility. I'll say that.
You couldn't even wait for me to finish.
And let me tell you why I'm saying that. And I've mentioned it a bit, but not all. When I was in government and I was 29, and you know, one of the perks that you have is you have access to loans and mortgages and everything. I kid you not, I got rejected I got rejected to loans that I applied for, and they were like my right, because it's part of the agreement.
Yes.
And I was rejected, and it was a lot of kelele, you know, you don't have sufficient history when it comes to your career. We're not sure after this government where you're going to go, as if they're sure about everyone else. And you know, you're too young, you don't have a dependent, you know, you're not married. And I sat down and I'm like, damn, I'm 29, I have everything on my side, and I can't still access it. And then when I left government as well, I realized that as much as I was talking about empowerment and capacity building, I realized we are capacity building women so much, with so much information, so much knowledge, but the finances are not there. The stipends are there. Yeah, the stipends are there. You know, well, let's just give them stipends. But the grants that are enabling women to have their businesses, enabling women to run their CBOs, enabling women to just be who they are, or even investing in their own selves, they're not there. And you find that is, I feel like it's a systematic thing, so that we can keep going back to capacity build, to train.
So doing the same thing over and over again.
Because remember, if you equip or you educate a woman, just one, the entire village will be empowered. So you can imagine, if you just educate, imagine if you give a woman money, just $1,000, or even $1,000 is a lot, $500, just give a woman that. Imagine how many things she would do.
A lot.
On
top of the education.
Yeah, on top of the education, a lot. So I think one of the things is our financial accessibility. Number one, we lack financial education, proper financial education, to identify and say that this is the money and this is how you're going to do it. Number two, it's really the financial capacity and ability within women itself. You find that there are women who already are at par when it comes to finances, but they're also not willing to equip other women. There are those who are educating, don't get me wrong.
Yes.
But the percentage is so small.
Very little.
If you look at the men who are actually capacity building each other. The other thing that I think that's a challenge is the lack of positive leadership examples. You know, you look out there, there's no positive narrative that can really encourage a 13-year-old girl to be someone today. I was 13, right, at some point, and I had a dream. But look at what I dreamt of. Oprah Winfrey and Kofi Annan.
No one from this country.
No one from this country. And that's because there's like a barrier. Because in leadership, it's like you have to be a certain age, experience certain hardships for you to be acceptable in that pool of female leadership. And then if you're a young person and you want to be there because of how society has brought us together, it's like you can't let a young woman take you, because if you do that, you're expired goods. Like for a woman, we have a timeline. You know, so if you see a young Nadia, young Susan is out there, like, no, you'll sabotage her. In fact, you'd rather even support another male than supporting the young lady. And so I think that particular thing, we need to change the narrative. Like people like myself and others out there. And it doesn't necessarily mean you have to be in certain leadership, can be anywhere, even if it's in the house, even if it's
places of work,
anywhere. So we need more positive narratives. Like, be the story. Remember when I started? Be the story. Don't wait for someone else to talk about your achievements and what you do so that you can create this certain narrative. No, talk about it, brag about it. Why not? You know, we have this humble thing like, oh, don't brag about it too much. No, kuna kucheza chini. You brag about it. So I think that's the second challenge. And honestly, the third challenge is just the lack of confidence within ourselves. You know, again, the African society, of course, if you go back in the days, you'll find that women were much stronger. You know, the men would go, if they're going for war or whatever it is, they're going hunting, whatever it is, the woman would still stay, right? And would be holding down the homestead, will be looking after the kids, and will also ensure, hands of kids, and will also ensure that systems within the homestead are working. Now, my question is, what happened between that and now?
That's a very good question.
Yeah, what happened?
Where did we lose it?
Where did we lose it? Because I feel like we are so, and a lot of people might not like me for this. I feel like we're so fixated on we want to be as equal to men,
which is not what we want.
Exactly, but that's the narrative, which is endangering the younger people. The narrative is we want to be equal to them, that we forget our femininity. We forget that when you get into a boardroom, as much as everyone in the boardroom is a man and they're intimidated by your red lipstick, you tend to now put on the big boy pants. No. You can still wear the big girl skirt and still command for what is right and what you need to do. And if you look at it right now, a lot of, in fact, in the future, with AI now coming in, a lot of the skills have a lot to do with softness, creativity, critical thinking, negotiation skills. Why? Because if you look at it, it's actually doing us service, because negotiation skills, I'm sure you and I know women have the best negotiation skills. Look at us in the market.
Look at our moms.
Exactly.
Yeah. Kitu ya 10,000 amelia amepewa na 200.
Exactly. Critical thinking as well. If you really look at the woman's biological structure and everything, you'll find that we critically think about every move we make before we do it. So why is it that we cannot do that also in workplaces? Why can't we flip just flip the switch?
Yeah.
And now it's about the woman. Why? Because we're still scared and we're too focused on what doesn't matter rather than what matters. Yeah. But for me, the top one is the financial inaccessibility.
Finances.
Yeah.
But you've brought out something very important that I'd also want to throw to my viewers for them to give me their thoughts. Where did we lose it? Because back then the society really trusted the women with, I would say, getting things in order, controlling things. And then suddenly we're in a space where it feels like we men are fighting to be like men.
Yeah.
And, I mean, where did we lose it? Where did we lose the trust in women? Is it the social media that came in? Is it egos? I really don't know, but just let me know in the comment section what your thoughts are. Now, as an individual, what challenges did you experience as a young lady in leadership?
Stereotypes.
Stereotypes.
A lot of stereotypes. The biggest one I can say is the fact that, you know how in Africa, and I don't know why this happens, in Africa, when you have a family unit, that symbolizes great leadership skills. Husband, wife, child. So if you have that, in fact, you'll even see when people will be like, if they can't even run a home properly, how can they run a business? How can they run a country? And so that was the first stereotype, because everyone was like, yeah, you know, she's single, she's, you know, light-skinned, she's pretty. Yeah, no responsibility. So she's just there like a poster child. So that was the first one. And honestly, I literally made the conscious decision to not counter it, because I was like, this is going to waste so much time. You want to think that way? That's fine. Because I would go to events sometimes and I would speak and I would hear people in the back, and some parastatals, and they'll be like, who taught her or who trained her how to speak? Why does she speak good English? Now that's the second stereotype, because mi ni Mswahili, natoka Mombasa, watu waona tu mimi nakaa chini ya mnazi ama nangoja maembe kuliko ati kusema, you know, now I'm talking about policy change and I'm saying that we need to implement this and implement that. So that was the other stereotype, because I come from the coast, because we are constantly marginalized, or because we are always used as one of those, like we are used as chess. Like, you know, if everyone else is for, then the coast people will be against. So it was like, how? But again, I made a conscious decision of really not countering that as well. Because I'm like, you know, if you want to know more about me, go to LinkedIn or ask me for my CV, I'll give you, and you'll see it. Politely. But the other challenge was just the ageism, you know. There are people who would swear swear down that they're like, you know what? No, she's not capable. So you'll find sometimes when people are still not used to it, and honestly, I feel like some of it was from pure ignorance. I would get into meetings and stuff, and some people would act so delusional that they don't know who I am. And I can tell you, the person who actually strengthened my stance was actually now the CS. My CS was CS Musheru. Would go in meetings or in the boardroom, and the notes, you know how public servants are, giving out everyone, and then they would skip me and give him. He would just say stop. He's like, you see this girl sitting here? This is my deputy minister. So if I'm not around, she's the one who will chair this. So the fact that you're skipping her to give me, please go back and give her.
Put some respect on her name.
And so that literally cemented the fact that, yes, I'm young, but it cemented the fact that I was able and capable to be there. And so I think that particular challenge, it came with how it was countered was I had someone who was backing me up, someone who had authority and would respect me even if I was young. To actually give me that. And then the last one, honestly, the challenge that I had was literally, and this is, a lot of people don't know this, it's the fact that you have so many ideas, but you don't have the funding. Exactly. So especially like one of the biggest campaigns I did in Kenya ni Mimi. A lot of people thought that I started it with funding and I got money and everything, but people don't know I just crafted that particular campaign when I was in the office out of like just stress and out of just fear. And I started with zero balance. And just because of the confidence I had, I managed to pitch it. People usually think, just because you're in a big place, you don't need. It's a net. Yes, no, I just had to pitch it. Everyone thought I was joking. Everyone thought, she's just trying to get relevant. But I mean, 3 months into it, got a big partner, UNFPA, came into it. And 10 months in, managed to convince the president to come and launch it. Now, this is a 29-year-old girl who everyone, when you walked through the corridors of public service, everyone would be like, we ataenda tu.
Wapi.
Yeah, and you too, 29. In fact, labda atakuwa ni girlfriend wa mtu. Yeah.
Did you actually get those
comments?
Yes, I
did. Oh my God, I did.
In politics.
I did. In fact, it's so funny. Like, I mean, people already had this pre-notion that my boyfriend was, the president was my boyfriend. And so it worked for me, but at the same time, it's like, really? Because it worked for you because everyone is scared. Because now it's like, you want to do something, you just do it. But people, it kind of like tarnishes your image, and your capability, because now people are like, it's just because she's the girlfriend, she got this. But I got that a lot. I was pinned with a lot of people. I was like, wow, I have the energy. So many of them are my boyfriends. I have the energy, right? But it was a challenge because the structure of public service in Kenya is that once kutoka kitambo, even before us, we went to school and everything. Once you get into government, it was permanent and pensionable, right? Up until Kibaki came, and then that changed. But now, because those people who have been there since they were 21 are still there. So if you and I go into government, everyone will be like, she's just going to leave.
It's temporary.
Yeah. So that was a big challenge because you have to really work so hard to kind of now win their trust or just...
Or approval.
Yeah. Or even like stay away from being sabotaged, because there's a lot of that as well. You want something from someone and then they will be like, they don't want to do it, or your file gets lost. There's also those challenges. Either your file gets lost, you want to go for a conference, somehow a signature is delayed and everything. So
na yote
kusudi because unaezaje, sisi tuko hapa for 20, 30 years.
We've not gotten this.
How is you're going in, and then me, as you can see, I'm very colorful. So me, the 3 years I was there, almost 3 years I was there, I was very colorful. Red lipstick, colorful clothes. Sometimes I would just wear clothes that had the Kenyan flag.
Come on.
Why? Because I want you to know and to remember that I was there and I did what I did and I moved. Yeah.
I like that you've shared this, because I know a lot of people, a lot of ladies especially, struggle with this, because there's also the stigma of, as a lady, if you're in top positions, you must have slept with somebody.
Yeah.
or your dad knew somebody who connected to you. And this is also to encourage women out there not to be afraid. Let people think what they think.
Let people think. Like,
because you see, if you're not doing anything with your life, they'll judge you. They're like, Mzembe, when you're up there, I mean, girl, just choose to live your life.
And let me tell you something, girl. Like, people will always talk. Whether you do good, whether you do bad,
whether you do nothing.
People always talk. So I always tell them, why don't you give them a show? Let them talk and have subtitles as well. And like have as in kila kitu, because paka receipts yani, because you know it's very sad. And I remember when I just got appointed, and you know there were some messages coming in from my boss to my boss. It's like, oh, you guys decided to just go for a blogger, you guys decided to do this. And I remember then there was a whole 2-page newspaper piece that was done on me, just to counter all this craziness that was out there, because everybody didn't know Nadia. Like, they didn't know that Nadia had a master's degree in foreign policy and cultural diplomacy. They didn't know that Nadia had a bachelor's in mass communication. They didn't know Nadia spent almost 10 years outside of Kenya. They didn't know Nadia had dreams. Like, they didn't know all these things that I did even before I got into government. And so it just shows sometimes that, because I think it's now also as well with the social media and everything and the false information we have, that we are still in a state where people are in disbelief when good things happen. And when good things happen through grace, people are still not accepting that.
They find ways to discredit it.
Exactly. And so that affects women a lot. And I had the best people around me to strengthen my thought process and to strengthen my stance. And these are both like men and women who are like, let them talk. I remember I used to even go for like just breakfast or coffee with my bosses, just so that they can tell me, you know, people will tell you this. Other people will come to you to even want to date you, but it's not honest.
For the right reasons.
Yes. So I was literally prepped all the way through. And so when I could see things, and you know, a lot of things sometimes would be written about me, and I didn't really care. You know, it died down because the moment, how do you fuel things? By responding.
True.
You go on Google right now, like Lynn was going on Google, and like these are the 3 things that people search, and one of them is, who is Nadia's husband? Like, how is that going to help you in your life?
I mean, where is your husband, Nadia?
My husband. Let me tell you, you know, now we are starting Ramadan, right? Soon. God is going to bring him.
Hallelujah.
You know,
so it's one of your prayer points.
It's one of my prayer points. You know, the husband is going to come. But in the meantime, why don't you search, what has Nadia done in the past 10 years?
Or what can I learn from Nadia's
What can I learn? Yeah. Or, you know, when you're DMing me or you're reaching out to me, why don't you reach out to me about an opportunity, or about how did I get myself to where I am, rather than, so who are you dating? Or... I mean... Exactly, tunapenda, but you see, unfortunately, my life is so boring that udaku is the last thing that you get in the standards of our society.
Okay, yes,
okay, because you would not find you would not find me trending. I can't trend. What am I trending about?
Because you're doing because I've also realized as Kenyans, we really like to thrive on what's negative. And we just keep adding to the negative to make it more juicy. But rarely do we talk about the milestones, and maybe that's like a wake-up call for us. And anyway, that's why we have such podcasts.
Kabisa.
To highlight achievements that women have out there.
And that's why I'm here. Because if it wasn't a podcast that did not do that, you'd miss me with that.
Lina Getambia, thank you so much. We'll get back to you. We already know you're not going to get back.
Gatekeeping from get-go.
We'll call you, not call us.
Yes, but I feel like it's just women, we have to, and especially for this particular conversation, young women, I'll talk about young women. We have to get to a point of, this is not going to affect me, and this does not need my time. Because if you do not look through that lens, you're going to find yourself just dwelling in everything that people are saying. You're going to find yourself scared to actually put yourself out there, because, oh my God, someone's going to pinpoint the fact that I love red lipstick. I love red lipstick. So that's how
I noticed. That. I didn't wear this for nothing. Trust me.
Yeah. Oh, so I love red lipstick. So, you know, people will just, or, you know, you shouldn't be scared. If, let's say you're going for interviews and they ask you, so do you have a family? Do you have this? If you don't want to talk about it, just say, I don't think this is part of the conversation, and it's not the focus. The focus is on this. It's just that I feel like right now we need to just walk in grace and just embody the power that God has given you.
Come on.
That's it. Because honestly, God puts ideas in our heads, and sometimes we don't listen to them, but those are the ideas that are meant to get us to the highest level. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask, what happened to Kenya ni Mimi?
Kenya ni Mimi, Kenya is me. First of all, can I just say that I used to have a band, the Kenyan band, and I cut it off.
Why?
In 2023 actually.
What happened?
Because I just don't feel like Kenya loves me. I don't feel like Kenya is me anymore. I just don't think Kenya it cares enough about me. So I just felt like the flag is really, what's the word? It's left me. Yeah. And so that happened to so for Kenya ni Mimi, the plan was to keep pushing with it as well. But then I decided, sometimes when you build something, you get to a point where it's like, now it's the time to either give it to someone else or to let it be. And I chose to give it to someone else. So I gave it to a brilliant team of Gen Zs who are now running it. Of course, I had the vision of how I wanted it to be run, but I'm also conscious of the fact that everyone has a different dream. So now there's a different team doing it, and I'm sure they are working across with what they have.
Yeah.
But for me, I think Kenya ni Mimi ended that time that
You handed it over.
I handed it over. And also because when I started it, I was very patriotic, very passionate about Kenya. And the work that I did, because I started Kenya ni Mimi to kind of consolidate everything that happens in Kenya, both development programs, government programs, in one place, so that young people can feel like they're part of it, so that young people can take part. And honestly, I can tell you, Kenya ni Mimi birthed a lot of amazing young people. You have young people who have their own CBOs who are my ambassadors. We have others who work in the government. We have others who actually got grants. We have others who are so powerful right now. So I've seen what Kenya ni Mimi has done, but I feel like that's it. Where we are at right now, I don't know what's going to happen, but I feel like for me to get back to how I felt about Kenya, there's a lot that I need to see happen. Yeah.
Is there something in particular that happened that made you feel like Kenya has not embraced you?
I just feel like there was progress, especially, when I was in government, and I'm not saying that we were perfect, but the fact that a young person and young people were integrated, and women, and then we went back to now no young people, no young person is there. That to me was the biggest disappointment, because we were actually progressing. I would go for global events and I would sit and I would talk about Kenya and what we are doing and how young people are participating. So I went from that to being on the streets in Mandamano. And I know a lot of people, there was people who were split with my participation on the streets during Mandamano. But the reason I went on the streets was because I have been in there. I did what I could and have seen. And now I just don't see that anymore. You look at our paycheck, it's crazy.
Oh,
look at the healthcare system, it's crazy. Even the speech, like just speaking out, a democratic way of speaking out for a young person, now it's scary. I mean, I don't even know if I'm speaking right now. I don't know what's going to happen, but God is with us.
Amen.
But we don't have that freedom anymore. And I vouched for myself, and I was so proud to be Kenyan because of the ability to voice out, the ability to challenge, and the ability to be held accountable. And then the ability to see young people. We are like 75% of the country, and you don't see any young person, any productive, accountable young person who is somewhere at the top trying to represent us. And so for me, it's a very emotional thing, by the way. As you can see now, my tone has changed.
I've noticed. I'm like,
it's emotional because I had a chance to see what can happen and what the
young people are involved.
And then now seeing how young, we lost, and may their souls rest in peace. We lost a lot of young people, all because we are saying no to something. I was on the street and we got chased by a horse, those horses. Like the police were on top of look at me, look at me. You're chasing me with a horse and a rungu. It's crazy. And so that's why we need, and it's also, the saddest part is you see some young people still supporting what is not right. I'm not saying I'm a saint from heaven, but all I'm saying is when it's wrong, it's wrong. And when it's right, it's right.
right.
So you better make it right
Or wrong.
or just accept that you're wrong and see how you can work around it. Yeah.
So this makes me want to ask you,
Yes.
would you want to go back to government?
Absolutely, but not this one.
A different government?
Yes.
Okay.
Not this one. Not this one. And for many reasons. One, because right now my life has shifted. I am now in the development space. I work for an international NGO. It's called Co-Africa, and I'm the director for Africa Communications.
Come on, girl.
Yeah, so I mean, we are in 10 African countries. I manage a team. At the same time, I do a lot of Pan-African advisory. I had a chance to also work in Mogadishu for 1 year. So I'm doing a lot. I think like I'm really gathering experience and knowledge and everything. And so I need time to learn before I can get back and just untie the knots that were there. But definitely I would go back, not as a politician.
Not as a politician.
No, I don't know. As
Still
a policy, policy
technocrat.
technocrat. I love that. I feel like I'm more of a person who wants to be in the governance level so that I can actualize development and so that I can use my voice to actually either, if it's fundraise, build relationships and everything. I don't want to like be a politician because I feel like I'm not capable enough to deal with. Actually, not that I'm not capable enough. My mind is too big to just be caged in just one constituency. Yeah.
I love that, and I'm so challenged by that. And I know earlier on we were talking about your mom, and I just wanted to let you know that I think you should be proud of the lady you've become.
Oh, thank you.
Like, I'm so inspired just by talking to you, and also a little bit of stalking.
Yeah. Oh,
But now, something else I know you're very passionate about,
Yes.
which is, it also touched my heart, is matters mental health.
Absolutely.
And as I was telling you earlier, I feel like in Kenya, we really downplay mental health and how important it is.
Yeah.
What got you to that place where you became very passionate? Is
Yeah.
it personal experience or what?
So I've been a advocate for mental health, I think, since 2017, yeah. And there was an incident that happened to me. I mean, before that, when I was in uni, we lost some acquaintances or friends because of suicide, there's a rest of challenges. But when you're in your early 20s, like when you're from your 18, 19, we don't pay too much attention to these things. It's more like, you go out, drink, do whatever and everything.
Not a big deal.
Not a big deal. But then I remember very well what happened to me was I was in Berlin that day and I was unwell. And I was alone and it was winter. And so I had gone to the loo and I'd gone to shower and I fainted. And my head was like 2 inches away from the toilet seat. So if it wasn't for my braids, I had such thick braids, I would have hit my head. But something happened to me that time when I fainted and I got up, that for the next few months, I started developing like post-traumatic stress disorder, in the sense that I would be scared to be alone in the train station. I would be scared to be alone in the bus. I would be scared to be alone even walking because I felt like I was just going to faint and nobody was going to come to help me out. And so at first I didn't know what it was. So I started to Google and I looked and everything. And that's how I came across PTSD. But I was in uni, man. Like, I didn't have the money. And so what I did was I went on this challenge to help myself get over it. So I came up with, I remember it was called 13 Days of Fierce Gratitude. It was a plan. And basically what I did was I would put myself in these situations that actually make me feel very anxious. I would take the underground train to a certain place when it was rush hour and be around people. And that kind of prompted my anxiety attack and everything. But I would do that.
Like a trigger.
Yeah. So for 13 days, I would do that. And after those 13 days, I realized that my mind, my brain just readjusted and I became okay. So now I was no longer scared of either people or no people, because it was a blend and mix of everything. And so from that, I realized, I was like, you know what? I need to read more about mental health to know what it is. And so I kind of read about it and I saw what was happening. And so I started reflecting. I started with home. And I was like, in the coast, so many things happen. We grow up with so much trauma. We grow up with so much things, but nobody talks about it. And so I was like, you know what? Whenever I'll go on holiday, I would create small groups, just sit to them, we talk and discuss. And then first I started that, and then I realized it doesn't work. So then I created, like, it was called the Fierce Branch. I think that's what it was like, Fierce Branch. So it was just to get women together and to discuss about everything that affects them in our community.
Right.
And so the first time I did it, I had 70 women coming, and women were talking about fashion, but then they were talking about like abuse and about this. So I was like, I see something here. Something is happening. So I did another one. And the other one, I made sure that it was closed door. And I kid you not, a lot of women were talking about being abused. Yeah, being abused by their boyfriends, being abused by their husbands, being abused. And that kind of hit home. Because I was also sexually abused when I was in uni by a friend. But I didn't tell anyone, because I felt like if I told people in my family, they'll be like, what did you do? Why were you at the party? Ulienda uko sijui nini? So I had to also deal with that by myself. So when I heard other girls and other ladies, I was like, you know what?
Me too.
Me too. And so from there now I started becoming vocal. So I remember I used to go to the supermarket, buy manila paper, write down, say no to GBV, started doing online campaigns, reeled in women wa Kiislamu, wa Kiswahili from everywhere in Mombasa and Kilifi, coming together, doing that. And kidogo, one thing led to another. I became this advocate where now I was speaking about mental health, why it's important for us to talk about it, and then also linking it to sexual-based violence and gender-based violence. One thing led to another. It opened doors. I started working with local leaders, like local MPs, organization, banks who supported me. But I was doing it in a small capacity. Yeah. And then I got a chance to be on a TV show called Miss President. At that time, it was on KTN, I think. And when I was there, one thing I'll tell you, my dear, everything that I do, I usually have a goal. So when I joined Miss President, honestly, it's not like I wanted to be the president, but I said I'm going to use this platform to make sure that all these people in Kenya who are watching know who I am and what I do. So that was the goal. Me hata alikuwa sitaki kushindana. And so when watu wanijue tu. And so when I did it, I branded myself very well. I did it. So when we were told you have to come up with one topic, like one issue that you focus on in Kenya, I focused on mental health, because people are like, oh, governance, oh, leadership, oh, CG politics. I was like, nah, I'm going to focus on mental health. And so I read the mental health policy. I remember I had never read it before, but I read it. And I was like, when I'm going to be on this show, I'm going to talk about it. So I started talking about mental health. So even when we had critical assignments and everything that I did, I embodied mental health. So even when I was being eliminated at top 18, I got eliminated, but everyone knew Nadia because of mental health. And so we continued. Now, when I got appointed, remember, I still have that video where Uhuru said, you know, Nadia, you've been doing a lot of work out there.
Ooh, we need to have it.
Yeah, doing a lot of work out there. Now you have the government's backing. That day when he said that I was swearing in, it just hit a nail in my head. And I was like, you know what? Mental health it is. So even when I was creating Kenya ni Mimi, at the back of my head, I was also championing for mental health. Then what happened? Sometimes, I'm not saying COVID is a good thing, but God aligns. COVID came, people were struggling, and I just opened my socials for people to like do random lives with me, talk about mental health. I found a lot of psychologists and psychiatrists working with me pro bono to give and offer mental health therapy, counseling and everything. And so one thing led to another. I kept on championing for it. I kept on talking about it. I kept on advocating. Every time I was in a meeting that had stakeholders that were focusing on young women and youth, I was talking about mental health. So I became that focal point even when I was in government for mental health. So then I managed to rally in WHO, managed to rally in UNICEF. We created programs, we were doing campaigns. And so we did so much on that. All that happened until now. And I was always open about my own challenges as well. Up until when now we left government, and I thought I was okay because I had prepared myself mentally. That's when I just got hit. I was at my lowest, because on one side, some people are talking online, oh, you know, she was just used by the government. She didn't even steal and make money. I mean, on one side, everyone's like, oh, it's so bad to steal. on the other side, they're like, oh, look at her now.
Hakuiba.
And she's talking about how, she wants a guy who has money. Whether I stole money or I didn't steal money. If you are a woman who are working hard, you need a guy who has money.
What she's saying.
Yeah, you need a guy who has money. Like, I don't know why we get so attacked because a woman prefers a man who is financially stable. Yeah. Yes. If you as a woman want to take care of a man, I respect you. Please do it, but do not force us.
Thank you.
Don't force us. To each their own. And so, because of all these things that are happening, I went so low and my mental health was really bad. And so I just decided to step back. And remember when I came in and I told you I haven't done this a while. So I was saying no to a lot. Yeah, I was saying no to a lot of events. I did not champion for mental health for the past 2 years because I don't want to lie and say I'm still championing for it. I haven't championed for it. And that's because I needed to fill my cup. Now you said something very important. In Kenya, people, first of all, it's like a thing, or we just treat it as mediocre.
Flex.
Yeah, it's a flex.
Like, I have mental health issues.
Exactly. But the truth of the matter is a lot of us are facing a lot of mental health challenges, both medically and others just wellness wise. And that's because, number one, we are in a society and environment where, first of all, inflation rates are high.
Very high.
Unemployment rate is high. Under unemployment is high. Black tax is high. I mean, we can talk about the highs. The laws are like, we are in a beautiful country. That's true. But we are also in a place where our communities are not well versed with the necessary tools to accommodate our mental health challenges. You say you have mental health, uko kwetu tambio, ukiwa na mume utakuwa sawa. Una mental health manake walala chumbani peke yako. I mean, or where pray, and it's good. Prayers help. Don't get me wrong, prayers help. But sometimes it's medically induced, like you need psyche help.
You need help, yeah.
And then there's also that issue where, and I do feel men, though I don't advocate for them because I'm very straight. I say that men need to advocate for their fellow men. And women, because women, we are doing our work. We cannot advocate for ourselves, take care of ourselves, do our mental health check, and then come and advocate for you guys. No, I'm sorry.
Thank you for bringing that up. Because men keep complaining, the woman is too empowered. Okay, then have men come up and also empower you.
And that's why I appreciate, and I saw it on Abel Mutua's page, where I just recently discovered he did a men's conference. And at first, it was a joke, men's conference. But I listened to the conversations the men were having, and I love it because it started with, if unachapa dem yako ama mke wako, another mse has to hold you accountable. So stories like that, spaces like that need to be held by men.
More often, not just men.
Exactly. And so why I say that I feel for men is because they also, the society, we expect so much from them that we forget that they also are hurting. And so I feel like we need to advocate more because suicide rates are very high, especially when it comes to the men. I mean, you saw on Spotify, they said in Kenya, the men are the ones who are listening to more heartbreaks than women. So
maybe because we are the ones heartbreaking.
But because we have been there before and now we are
in men, how to cope.
We are now women in men fields.
Ooh.
And you try to play me, I'll sit, look at you, and I'll just learn the game.
Or rather, you're the coach.
Yeah, the coach. Hata sitaki kuwa coach. Mimi nataka pia kucheza. Lakini nitakavyocheza yangu, I promise you're going to end in tears. Exactly. And so, basically what I'm trying to say is that mental health is such a critical thing in Kenya. When in our government, there was a task force, there was a mental health report that was done. Again, it ended. If we could have continued that, if we could have actually just had a whole ministry just focusing, I'm not talking about health, Ministry of Health, just a ministry for mental health and happiness. I know, you could always dream. It could help.
I mean, girl, you have a track record of dreaming big and
exactly.
meeting your dreams, so I won't overlook this.
Exactly. So mental health and happiness, it would help because sometimes it's not that the problem is challenging you. Sometimes you just need someone to just listen. Sometimes you just need to break down. Sometimes you just need to say, honestly, I'm challenged by the bills that I have. And you just need someone to tell you, here, I will help you out for a certain time. I was in a dinner just a few days ago, and I heard someone saying that they actually helped pay their friends' rent for 8 months. Yes.
May such friendships locate me.
Exactly. May such ones, you know, and I've gotten calls as well, random calls actually from people that I've seen, and they're like, you know, they're almost getting kicked out. And I didn't even ask. I just sent what I had. And I would be like, I don't have much, but this is how it is. Because everyone is going through different challenges.
True.
But we need to stop glamorizing mental health. Because I feel like it's now at that point where, I'm a mental health advocate. You know, you just need to sit still. You know, you just need to breathe. No. It's about first going to the root cause, which is our society needs to have the right tools and understanding of what mental health is. Because zamani ilikuwa ni wazimu tu. Mimi saa nyingine wanaambiwa, I remember there was a time I was told by my family, ushaacha hii kazi yako ya kudeal na wandazimu, si uwapeleke tu potries. But you know, these are things some of us who grew up in the coast, you'll understand, they say it lightly. So it's not something that's supposed to like affect you. So we were raised with such toxicity, like unaambiwa kitu unalia si ujiue.
I know when you tell your parent, nataka kujua, kamba ndio hapo.
I remember I used to not like eating vegetables, and I told Sawa, hizi hapa, hii hapa ndo kula, alafu tapika, mimi nitafuta, alafu tala. Like you're told that.
But I think also for them, they didn't have the adequate support.
They didn't.
So if their let's say manual of parenting is corrupted, obviously the product will also be corrupted.
It's true. It's true. Because if you look at it, or on the downside is that, okay, most of us who grew up like that, unfortunately, we don't have time to deal with.
Hatuna. Aki millennials, we also kidogo toxic.
Exactly. Hatuna time. You're like, there's a friend of mine who says, please, zulie kutoke uende. So I think for mental health, we just need to, I don't even know if I should say this, but I think the government also needs to understand that the cases are really high. There's a lot going on. But at the same time, as humans, as Kenyans, we need to also acknowledge the fact that we're in a very tough time. You know, tough time in a country worldwide as well. It's a tough time. Everything is really high, prices, inflation, whatever. So we also need to give ourselves grace. We're such high-functioning people that sometimes we don't even take time to understand or realize, you actually did something. We're always setting the targets high and higher.
Actually,
So then what happens? You just burn out so bad, you exhaust yourself, kisha unasikia siku moja someone just collapsed.
You're wondering how? And they were very young.
Yeah.
So you've said something that has sparked an idea. I think we're too focused on achieving the next goal. We don't take a moment to say, you know what? I know I had 10 things on my list. I've only done 2. And I'm going to celebrate the 2.
Exactly.
So that I can get more energy to now.
We don't. So we need, and that's, remember when I told you, Nadia is also a lover of slow mornings. Staki haraka. Before nakwambia, I used to be like, why am I quiet? Why don't I have anything? Why am I idle? Now I'm just like, I just don't feel it, and I won't do it. And I promise you I won't do it. In the morning, I'll wake up and I'll go to the gym. I'll come back. I'll take an hour to get ready. And sometimes I'm just in the toilet as admiring myself.
On TikTok? I thought you
No, not on TikTok. Hey, TikTok is also toxic. One video, you find yourself 1:30 a.m. You have a lot.
Let me just watch 3 clips.
But I just think that, I'm a board chair of Nivisha Foundation. It's a mental health foundation in Kibera.
Oh, wow.
Yes, and it gives psycho support systems to single mothers and also vulnerable children there. I just feel like more of those organizations need to be very centralized with what mental health is. I also feel like as doctors, psychologists or psychiatrists, we need to also understand the rates are very high. So maybe it has to come from Parliament, where we now streamline the price in which a psychiatrist or psychologist has to charge, because it's expensive. Mental health services is a very elite thing, you know. And so as a country, we just need to find ways. But in the meantime, what we can do as a people is we need to really take it seriously. But for me, for now, girl, I haven't advocated, and I want to be honest, I haven't advocated because I've not been okay. This is the year. This is the year that I can say it's going on well. But the other 2 years, it was just me trying to look for myself and find this and find the bearing. All
right. Before we talk about your book.
Yes.
We are celebrating women this month. On the 8th, it was going to be International Women's Day.
Yes.
And this year's theme is accelerating action. When you hear that, what comes to mind?
We're always accelerating action. I'm sorry. I think like it's great that we have a day that we're celebrating women, but these themes are so generic. Like, as I said, and I'll say it again, and maybe this is, I don't know, my friends say I sound like a broken telephone, but women don't need to, they need their actions accelerated by financial health and financial wealth and investment opportunities and education. We need that. So if we're going to accelerate action for women, let it start with financial institutions creating favorable products for women, not only women who are able and capable, but for also women who are far reach from what they need to be able to advance. Because as I was telling you, you educate one woman, it's a whole village. But imagine if you just give one woman $250 or $500. Imagine the things that she can do. A good example is for in our organization. There's one story, because I deal with communication and stuff, and there's one story of a volunteer. We work with volunteers, and she went to a community that didn't even have schools. So if the community wanted their kids to go to school, they would go outside of that boma. And what she did was she said, you know what, I'm going to kind of train the women in this community to know how to make soap.
Wow.
And guess what she did? She targeted the chief's wife. See, it has to,
yes,
strategically. So she targeted the chief's wife, and the chief wives came with her friends, and she taught them how to make the soap. Now imagine what happened. The chief's wife then comes back to her and says, I really like this. Can you teach me more? Because I think I have an opportunity to sell this soap to the restaurants that are just close by the village. So what did the chief's wife do? The chief wife took some money from her husband, went to buy the soaps, hizo products zake, came back to the lady. The girl taught her how to make the soaps. She now sold the soaps to the restaurant
hotels,
and the restaurants that were around. Then once she sold, she got more money. Then she came back to her and said, I want you to now help me create these soaps and these products that can multiply my income. And guess what? Now the chief's wife has a running business, and she's employed other women.
The other women in the community.
Exactly. So I feel like capacity building, sijui nini, that's okay, that's enough. We need to now realistically accelerate women's action. And by doing so is by enabling women to have financial gains. And for me, that's why this year I'm not really participating a lot in International Women's Day, because I'm just like, it's a lot of conversations and we're back at the same place. But since I'm here, I would say all these organizations that are doing these things, enough of the talks, enough of the panels, let's do the groundwork. Get that grant or that fund that you have and go take it to where it's needed the most, to the women's groups. Identify the action there, whether they want to create a marketplace, they want to create soaps, they want to start fishing, whatever it is. Just allow them to accelerate their action using the money that you give them. Because let us be honest, and I think there's something I've learned. Because, just because I'm talking about finances here doesn't mean I know how to use money. Well, let me just put it out there. I can save so well, and then I can blow it up very fast. I can have $1 and survive for 2 weeks with it, and I can have 1,000 and blow it up in 24 hours. So I'm like that. But what I've learned is that I'm the most happiest when I have money.
I think everybody is.
Exactly. But not everybody again. Because some people just want to like hog the money, just what to just hogging. But imagine if you're actually giving women these like education, financial education, to use that money, that 100 shilling, that 500 shilling. And then also I feel like financial institutions, it's about time they stop making these rules for women so hard. I mean, back in the days, women couldn't even own land, right? Now at least we can.
Now, yes.
Exactly. But still, the problem is it's so hard to access a lot of investments. It's so hard to access loans. It's so hard to access mortgages. Can we be very realistic and create products?
The stigmatization.
It's just stigma everywhere, because a man will come and a woman will come, but because the woman is like, oh, I can't risk it, because I don't know. But the man will be there, and men know how to really pitch. And honestly, I don't hate men. I love you guys so much. Don't get me wrong. I just wanted to say that the stigma is so clear and so outward, right? And so for me, let's accelerate financial accessibility. Let's accelerate investments. Teach women how to buy bonds. Teach women how to buy, what are those called? Stocks. Teach women how to save. I know money market right now, money market fund, the interest rate is going low. But pia, unaweza kuweka bado. I mean, it's low, but it's still something. Have life insurance that are there. And the reason why I'm talking like this, 5 years ago, I wouldn't talk like this because I have a investment advisor. I have a very good investment advisor. My brother, he's younger than me, but he's very good. I've also invested in Bitcoin. Like, diversify your investments as women, but these institutions that own these investments need to make favorable rules and policies that support women. And then the government as well need to create policies. These parliamentarians who are in the parliament, they need to start creating policies or backing up policies that are favorable to pressure these institutions to have policies and rules that are favorable to women. Now that for me
would be accelerating action.
Yes.
Okay, I would have said mic drop, but we can't drop this mic. Let's talk about your book.
Yes.
Dreams and whatever.
Yes. Oh, that book. It's like so I'm not, contrary to what people think. People always think, people who write books read a lot of books. So I don't read a lot of books. I actually like listening to books these days. Yeah, audiobooks. I don't read a lot of books, but I have a lot of stories to tell. And so growing up, I could always read a memoir about this one, a memoir about that one, a memoir about that one. But people wait until they're old to write their memoirs. People wait until they achieve something to write their memoirs. Now, the reason I wrote Of Dreams and Whatever is I just wanted to share a piece of me with everyone, with the young girl who's 13, to the young lady who's 25, to the old lady who is 45 or 50 or 55. And so I said I would write a small memoir. I call it a memoir from the time I was a young girl up until the time I was a CAS. Now, I wrote that book in form of journal pieces. You know, in the morning you wake up, you write a journal. So I wrote it as a journal entry. So the plan wasn't to have a book. The plan was just to have a journal entry for myself. But then I found myself writing it and it ended. And as soon as it ended, then I met a founder of a boutique, what is it called? Boutique agency who was willing to publish my book. And I was like, hey, why not? And in fact, the idea title came from them as well, because I think mine was more of empowered girl, whatever. Just had a very funny,
serious title.
Yeah. So I was like, Of Dreams or Whatever, because the book talks about all the dreams that I had, but the whatevers are all the negative things that happened to me. From my mental health to the sexual abuse encounter I had, to losing my mother, from the highs to the lows. So that's what the book is about. And I feel like it was so important for me to really have that book at that particular time when I was in government, so that I could show young girls that you can still be in high position and still have time to write a book and talk about it. Yeah.
Now, I want you to give you a pattern shot. I want us to play a game. I want people to get to know you a little bit personally. Clearly, unapenda mchezo.
I'm always ready for a good game.
Yeah.
Yes.
So before we go there, maybe just speak to that young lady out there struggling with her self-confidence, who feels like maybe she has to wait until she's 40 to pursue her dreams. Or even that lady who has shelved her dreams, but she feels like maybe there isn't the right time to execute them. What would you tell them looking at this camera?
Yeah. Well, hi, girl. Hey. Well, I would tell you that, listen, life is not a straight line. There are days you'll feel like a winner, there are days you'll feel like a loser, and there are days you'll feel so sad that you just hate yourself. But the beauty about all these 3 days is that they are your days. And as long as you know that those are your days and they make you who you are, you will be unstoppable. I didn't grow up or I am not who I am right now because of a day or two, but I am the person I am because of the journey that I embrace. I am my past, I am my current, and I'm definitely my future. And so should you.
I love that. I am my past, I am my present, definitely my future. Love that. Now, this game is called Would You Rather.
Okay.
Yeah. You know how it's played?
Yes.
Right. So the first one is, would you rather be able to read minds or have the ability to speak any language fluently?
Oh, I'd rather be able to read minds. That way I would be ahead of the game.
I would have gone for language.
Oh.
But okay. Would you rather live without social media for a year or without your favorite food for a year?
I would rather live without my favorite food for a year, because I feel like for me, my social media is a place where I share who I am and give people bits and pieces about myself. And that is my way to give back to the world.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what is your favorite food?
My favorite food, it's actually aglio olio pasta with salmon.
What?
Yes.
Biryani.
Afana, says to me, I grew up with those things. I can cook them with my eyes closed. Yeah.
By the way, something interesting before I go to the next question. Something I learned about Nadia before we started the interview, and this shook me. So apparently, Nadia can't eat her food if it's not properly organized on the plate. So nikamuliza, ukienda harusi za Wakikuyu dada, utafanyaje? Because they put melon, they put chapati, they put stew. What is that about?
I don't know. I just feel like the process of me eating is a gift to myself. It's the same way as the process of me getting ready. These are two processes that I take very seriously. I love cooking and I love my food. And so when I sit on the couch or on the table and when I look at my plate, I want to be able to know that, Nadia, this is for you and you deserve it.
Well,
mashakura.
As you have a long way to go, because mashakura for me, as long as it's on the plate, as long as it's I mean, it's clean.
Yes.
The plate is clean. Kind of mwangu. So next question, would you rather be famous for something you didn't do or be completely unknown for something amazing you did?
I'd rather be completely unknown for something amazing I did, because it will give me so much personal satisfaction knowing that I did it and I'm able to really shine away from the light or attention of that particular thing.
Okay, that's a good answer.
Yeah.
Would you rather be able to master every musical instrument or be a pro at every sport?
A pro at every sport.
Yeah.
And I say this because I'm a swimmer. I did swimming, and then I also used to play tennis. I love walking in nature and I love going to the gym. And so I feel like if it actually, all these things make me happy mentally. They take care of my mental health. So if I was a pro at sports, I feel like I would not only be fit, have a banging body.
Come on,
not
girl.
that I don't have one.
I mean, it speaks for itself.
Yeah, but also it would just accelerate my healthy lifestyle.
Yeah.
I aspire to have a healthy lifestyle, so I try. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Would you rather have unlimited energy or unlimited time?
I think unlimited energy. Because I might have unlimited time, but the energy is not there to actually do what I need to do. So I'd rather have the energy to use it to maximize the time that I have. Yeah.
Okay. Finally, would you rather have a job that is very fulfilling but doesn't pay well, or one that's stressful but financially rewarding?
Listen.
Be honest.
I'd rather have a job that is so stressful and not but the money is good, because let me tell you, that money will enable me to go on a vacation, sit in a business or first class plane, sleep in a 5 to 7 star hotel
and get a massage.
Go to the sauna. Eat the best oysters and the best seafood and just bask in glory.
Okay. That's a fair point. Now, this last one is like a bonus.
Yes.
Having lived outside, I think you've lived in very many European countries which have extreme cold weathers.
Yes.
And you're from Mombasa.
Yes.
So would you prefer the hot weather or the cold weather?
Honestly, I'd love the cold weather because of the fashion and style.
Okay.
Yeah, because I miss those days. I would wear boots with stockings, a skirt, a nice jacket and everything. I think I would like that, because I grew up in Mombasa, for 17 years. I was there, the sun, it's okay and everything, but the tan is constant, and you're always and then sometimes, I don't like summer style. I like winter style, because I'm just able to feel so sexy while at it.
Okay.
Something that people do not know. Yeah.
Are there other interesting things that we don't know about you as we wrap this up?
Actually, one interesting thing is that I really, really love love.
You love love?
Yeah. I really love
like
it. Contrary
love of generic.
No,
or
like
love ya
mushy love, yeah. Whether it's mtu, whether it's the people I'm around, I don't know how to express it because a lot of times I think because of some of our traumas, we tend to become this exterior of what our past is. But I just genuinely love how it makes me feel inside. You know, I feel like whether it's love from an opposite sex or it's love from family, or it's love from the people that I care for, I just love it genuinely. And for me, a lot of people don't know that about me. People always feel like, oh, she's just like this, up until you meet me and you're like, oh, you know, this girl, she's just a young girl who didn't have attention and grew up with daddy issues when she was young.
It's always daddy issues.
It's always like, you know, the daddies just let us down. But again, you know, because I'm very open about that. Like, I grew up with daddy issues, but I had to heal. And I guess that's why now that I love it, because I didn't have it, you know, but then now it's a more healthier way to want it. Before it was like, oh, I just need somebody.
Like you want,
yeah, but now it's more of, I just want to feel so rosy. And, you know, or it could also be because of somebody that I love. But anyway, you never know. I'll just let your audience just guess. But I just love where I'm at right now.
Okay. Do you love flowers?
I love flowers.
Okay.
Oh my
the
God.
Next time
like,
we meet, I'll bring you flowers.
Yes, I actually love orange lilies or orange roses.
This was not a copy.
It's just that. But then the other thing is I'm very socially awkward. And I told you, socially awkward, and I'm not an extrovert. This energy right now, as soon as you're done here, I'm done.
You're back to being an introvert.
I'm done. Yani, I want to go watch Netflix, and I just want to like not talk to anybody.
I feel like as an extrovert, I just bring out the extrovertedness out of people, and I'm proud of it.
I love it. I was there before, like, girl, take it and hold
take it all.
Yes.
But thank you so much for coming to my podcast. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, and thank you for having me. And I hope I did you justice.
Girl, you did more justice.
It's and you know it. I know it's International Women's Day, and beyond everything, I just want to wish every woman a happy International Women's Day. And I just want to make you all remember that you only have one life, and that life is yours, and live it unapologetically, no matter what or who says whatever about you.
I can't add anything. Thank you so much for keeping us company, and thank you so much, Nadia, for gracing, that's what I did there at my podcast. And thank you so much for always showing us support in our inboxes, in our comment section, and also the support that you show the guests that we bring on here. I really, really appreciate it. My name is Susan Grace. Until next time, God bless you.